Tell us what you think of the new intro beat on the Be and Us LLC Instagram page. That's at BEANDUS LLC. Thanks. Looking forward to hearing your feedback.
Do you want to bring balance to all the wireless radiation fields in your life, including 5G? The Omnia Radiation Balancer is a small sticker you can stick on any device. It changes the state of the field and creates a new resonance between the wireless radiation and your energy field. On the link below, you'll see all our testing results that show how the body responds excellently once you've made this change in your life. Plus, you can enter the discount code BBE in capital letters for a 10% discount. It's easy to bring balance back to your body with the Omnia Radiation Balancer.
Welcome back to another episode of a News You Can Use podcast. My name is Frenchier, the host of the podcast, and we want to thank you for tuning in. Make sure you're downloading the past episodes, following us on Spotify, subscribing on Apple Podcasts, and reviewing and rating the podcast on Apple Podcasts so that other people like yourselves can discover the podcast. And we have some great people on the line today. We have our business spotlights, but more importantly, we have our first sponsors on the line today, and we get to talk to them personally. You get to learn more about Cassidy Frisch and Tim Sandars of Omnia. Welcome.
Hi, Frenchette.
So thank you for having us.
Yeah,
You're so
pleasure to be here.
welcome. Thank you for accepting the invitation. And I'm so grateful for you guys. And so let me read their bios real quick to introduce you them. Cassidy is a co-founder of Prestige Global and partnered with the Omnia Radiation Balancer. And Tim Sandars established the brand Omnia Radiation Balancer, which harmonizes 5G fields after meeting a physics professor who is rewriting the laws of physics. The orb uses new technology to change the state of all radiation fields, and this brings a new vibrational resonance to the body, which we demonstrate in our tests. So tell us, Cassidy and Tim, tell us, this is my first, now, first of all, let me say, this is super special because this is my first time interviewing two people at once. So, hey.
Awesome.
Cassidy and Tim, tell us about yourselves. Give us some background history of who you are, where you're from, where you live, and all that jazz.
Yeah, absolutely. Tim, do you want to go first, or do you want me?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, sure. Because I'm in London, and my name's Tim Sandars, and I founded this brand, the Omnia Radiation Balancer, after I met a scientist who told me exactly why radiation from phones and Wi-Fi and anything that's radiating that's man-made, basically. He told us exactly why that causes an effect of what we call dissonance in the human body, which is basically vibrational dis-ease, not disease, but dis-ease. He explains everything in the body from the perspective of energy, frequency, and vibration, which is the kind of the basics of Tesla's science, Nikola Tesla. So everyone in this debate is all, concerned about, they look at the electromagnetic spectrum, for example, and they say, well, non-ionizing, non-thermal radiation can't harm the human body because that's what they're taught in school. But this new scientist, the scientist that I met, said, well, actually, there's another quality in a radiation field that actually can cause this dissonance in the human body, which over time leads to complications. So what he set about doing was to reverse that so that the energy that comes into your phone is now a match for the energy in the human body. And so we developed this product. He's developed this product, and I built a brand around it. And yeah, I test it on the human body to make sure that the body responds super well. As soon as we've made this change in your life, we put the patch on a phone, on a Wi-Fi router, on a laptop, it changes the state of the energy field. And then that is now in resonance, not in dissonance. That is in resonance with your body. And lots of people give us testimonials saying that it's removed their headaches and their stress and their sleep problems and their energy problems and their focus problems and all sorts of other things, which is wonderful because that's what we aim to do.
That's awesome. And Cassidy, tell us about yourself.
Absolutely. So my name is Cassidy, and I co-founded Prestige Global in April of 2020 during a tumultuous time in COVID. But I've always wanted to start my own company, and I thought I would start this when I was 30. And when I was let go from my other job during the first week the pandemic hit, I thought, why not now? And that's the kind of person I am. If I'm really passionate about something, I always think, like, don't wait for tomorrow, start today, because we're never guaranteed tomorrow. So that's what really prompted me to start Prestige Global. And we want to work with companies and brands that want to better the lives of the people around them, and they have to have a passion as to what they're selling. So that is one of the reasons why we're working with Tim. There's huge passion there, better people's lives, and there's just not much more that needs to be said. I remember when I first spoke to Tim, I actually didn't know a lot about radiation. I didn't even cross my mind. And as soon as I got my patch, I don't know if you could see it, it's a little bit faded, but it's on my phone right here. I could just say, wow. From my experience, I also have the patch on my laptop too. And as somebody who has to be in front of their laptop and on their phone constantly, because I do outbound sales, so I'm constantly calling people, I'm emailing. And I found that before using the patch, I would get a lot of stress headaches around my temples here. And my energy would just not be where I wanted it to be. And I kept questioning why, because I exercise a lot, I eat semi-okay. And I thought, why is this happening to me? And when I had this conversation with Tim about radiation, it really just opened my mind to, wow, what is my body actually taking in that I don't necessarily know? So I just want to describe like what I felt, and I'm not saying that everybody is going to feel this because everyone's different, right? Like everyone will experience this in a different way. But from what I've experienced is that I have a lot more energy sitting in front of my computer, and from that, it's kind of prompted my creativity. Because when I'm on my computer, I'm on Canva, I'm doing website design, and you have to have a lot of power and creativity in what you do in your day-to-day life. That's just me. People might differ. They might disagree, but yeah, I find that my migraines have gone away. I even find that I'm sitting up straighter, and it's just, yeah, it just really made me think, like when we're walking outside and we have our phones to our ears or we're wearing our AirPods. It just made me kind of question, like, what kind of damage are we receiving within our bodies, and how is that really affecting us and our attitudes towards life in itself? And for me, it's been nothing but a positive experience. I've had less migraines, and
and we can speak to that because one of the tests that we do is called applied kinesiology. And for those who don't know what that is, it's using the body's balance and natural strength and alignment to tell us whether it receives something well or not so well, right? So I first found out about applied kinesiology when I had a lot of gut trouble when I was about 12, and it turned out that I was allergic to milk. And the way that we found that out is that I held milk in one hand and I held the other hand out, or the other arm out, and you test the strength of the arm. You pull down on the arm and you resist. And if the strength is there, then that's not a problem for you. And I went through 5 or 6 of these tests and was pretty strong and was fine. And then suddenly my arm just gave way. And I found out that I was allergic to or intolerant of milk. Now we do that same test with everyone with a mobile phone in their hand. We test their strength as a baseline, and they're super strong. And then we put the phone in their hand and it's a no. The body goes weak, and 100% of people get that response. And the reason is because everything in the body is electrical. Everything. Your heart is a big electrical pump. All of your brain waves are electrical signals that are invisible. And we know from the scientists that I work with that if even moving my little finger around is my mind moving the electrical current around in every single one of some of my billions of cells, right? So there's this electrical circuitry that runs the whole body. And what happens when you pick up a mobile phone or you type on a laptop is you're in connection with this other type of energy. And there's this sort of a clash, a vibrational clash. And it's not because of the heat that's generated by the device. It's because the energy in the phone or the laptop or the Wi-Fi is spinning in a slightly different way. So once you've understood that, and you've understood that it's actually the spin of the energy that is the thing that is kind of the source of the issue, then you can set about making that spin of energy compatible and in synchronicity with the spin of energy in the human body. And once you've done that, then we do the test again and the applied kinesiology, and everyone goes super strong, right? So that's good news for your body. And, we would expect that to be good news for anyone who becomes an Omnia customer. And it's not unusual for us to hear, testimonials like Cassidy's there, where people say, I'm more alert, because ultimately what we're saying is constant exposure and connection with all of this imbalanced energy just wears your energy down as a human being that's reliant on good, electrical circuitry in your body. So, and especially right now when everyone's in lockdown, we're all on our computers all day. It's great that we can talk, across the Atlantic and whatever, right, at all times of the day, but that comes with a price. That comes with a price of wearing your body down, and that's what we want to correct. That's what we want to restore balance to that situation.
Yeah, I actually have something else to add too. So I was a track runner, and I ran for a cross country and track for 10 years. And I ran in NCAA, and my coaches have always told me that your body is your car, it's your machine. So whatever you put into your body, you get out. If you're putting in healthy foods, you get out a better experience in the athletics department. But I think I was thinking this for myself that, it goes beyond that. Like, what are we putting into our bodies? It doesn't necessarily have to be food, but our bodies are a driving machine. And if we don't have that energy to drive the machine that we're steering, how are we supposed to do what we need to do? How are we supposed to have that energy to find the balance? As weeks went on, when I was I'm still using the ORV, I find that, I just kind of, my body feels like, wow, I'm putting in all this great, my body feels great. I feel like I have the engine that I need. So I feel like, it goes just far and beyond about like what we really like have coming into our bodies. And if we have all that radiation coming into our bodies, is that a good thing? And I'm not saying that this is 100% factual. I'm just saying that this is from my perspective. But yeah, if we could, create that vibrational balance, I'm fairly sure that we could have the machine, aka our bodies, drive and do a lot more in light.
Full pelt. Yeah. Optimized. Yeah. Absolutely. Ready for action. Yeah.
Yes.
Tim says it a little bit better than me.
Just practice. Yeah.
But yeah, I really did think about that, because we like for a person like me that doesn't have a science background, that has only been fairly newly introduced to the ORB, I never thought about what radiation could do to me, or what it was doing to me. I never knew that radiation could enter my body in certain ways. So it's kind of like when we talk about wellness and well-being and health, I think we have to really think deeper here, that it just goes much further beyond going to the gym and eating healthy. It's like, how are we going to create this vibrational balance, and how are we going to harmonize ourselves between our laptops and our bodies, between our phones and our bodies, and even our microwaves and our bodies?
And I've got something else to add to that, which kind of illustrates what you just said, which is that if you were to take, and this sort of explains the vibrational side of what we're talking about, right? If you were to take two guitars, right, and put them close to each other, the guitars have got 6 different types of string, right? They're all in different notes, right? And if you plucked the A string on one guitar, right, and then left the other guitar completely on its own, what would happen is that the A string on the other guitar starts to resonate and vibrate with that note, right? You haven't touched it. It's just picked up the vibration of that A string on the other guitar, and it started to what we call resonate in sympathy with that vibration, right? That's what happens in not just two guitars, but also in the human body. The human body is walking around literally resonating with everything that it comes into contact with. It resonates with good things like sunlight, like having a hug, if we're even allowed to have a hug anymore. Like good music, you hear good music, the hairs on the back of your neck stand up, and that's a sign of, positive vibration and resonance, when you hear that good music, that good vibration, and so on. Good smells as well, when you smell something that's like nice fresh flowers, that sort of thing. These are things that are positive, resonant, vibrational experiences in the body. But sadly, exactly the same thing happens when the vibration that you're encountering is imbalanced or out of sync with the human body. Your body picks it up and your body starts to dissonate with it, right? So just like that guitar that starts to shake in vibration, in sort of in sympathetic resonance with the A string, we walk into all these electromagnetic fields and we start to pick up that imbalanced energetic vibration. And that's what we want to correct. So I hope that made sense, but that's sort of like, that's an illustration. And one more thing, what I would say is that if you imagine that the Wi-Fi and all of the electromagnetic fields that surround us and deliver the data into our phones, which we asked for, we asked for these phones to download YouTube and Instagram and all these sort of things. So, we are responsible for this. But you imagine that is like an orchestra, right? That is all around you, at quite high volumes of electromagnetic frequency, right? All these radio waves that are delivering all of the data. So at the moment, the orchestra that's all around you that you can't hear, but imagine you could hear it. If you could hear it, it would be like it was tuning up the orchestra, right? Where all the instruments were out of tune, and it'd be like, you'd want to hold your ears. You'd be like, oh my God, what is that noise? You'd be like, that is a horrible noise. What we do at Omnia is that we tune the whole orchestra up so that it makes a nice noise, so that your body goes, oh, that's a nice noise, right? So we transform the state of that energy field into something that the body likes.
Wow, that's some beautiful stuff. I'm be honest with you, I'm having technical difficulties on my end. It's my Zoom is saying that it's not responding. I can hear everything that you're saying, but I'm just hoping that it's being recorded while it's saying that it's not responding, and so I'm just not sure.
Oh, it says it's
You've
being,
frozen a bit, but
It
you're
does say it's
recording as
still
well,
recording.
right, Cassidy? So, yeah, okay.
Okay, good. So what is your background, and why did you get into this?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I was living in Singapore for a little while, and while I was there, I was actually got a bit ill. I got a bit ill personally, and I was hanging out with a lot of alternative healers who did things like qigong and kinesiology as well, and also sort of dietitians and that sort of thing. And they introduced me to this idea that mobile phones, although they were wonderful and they deliver all of our content at record speed, they're not something that the human body likes to be exposed to. So because I was looking after my body and my health, I realized that, and then I started making changes in my life. And then I met some people who developed products in Asia, and then my time ran up in Asia and I came back to the UK. And then I happened to be at a festival, which was like a conscious festival of lots of people that were delivering seminars on all sorts of things, like the pyramids, or ecological farming, sort of bio farming, saving the animals, all these kind of progressive conscious things. And there was a guy there doing a seminar about free energy. And this was the scientist who invented the Omnia Radiation Balancer. And halfway through, he said, oh, and by the way, I've also got the solution to all the radiation problems in the world. And I just thought, wait a minute, that is gold dust. Why don't we know about this? And does it work? And I already knew how to test it because of these people in Singapore. And I tested it through live blood analysis and also through applied kinesiology, which I mentioned earlier. So I took his product back home because the conference was in, this festival was in South Africa. I took the product back home, I tested it in London, and I thought, wow, everyone needs to know about this because there's a problem, and now we have a very good solution. So that's what led me to set up that brand, the Omnia Radiation Balancer. And yeah, that's and then I've been looking ever since for more and more ways to prove that it's doing a good job.
Nice. Yeah, I've seen the test, and it is doing a good job. Why should we take wireless radiation seriously?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I mean, most people don't even realize that orchestra is all around them playing that ugly noise that their body doesn't like. And I liken it to the situation of the boiling frog, right? Where, you basically drop a frog into a boiling pan of water, it would jump straight out, right? But what we've had is a slowly increasing heat in that pan of water from 1G to 2G to 3G to 4G to 5G. And it's just slowly been turning up. And ultimately, the human body is going to react. Ultimately, we are programmed to respond electrically. There's nothing you can do about it. We're conditioned to respond to these electrical fields because, like I said, we are beings of energy, frequency, and vibration, and electrical current running around all our cells and in our heart and so on. So, I mean, there's many, many different reasons, but I would say that firstly, we're all exposed. Secondly, the time that we're exposed per day is massive, especially now we're in lockdown. It's like 7 to 10 hours per day for most people. They're on their devices and they're connecting with this different energy. And thirdly, the strengths of the field are going up and up and up, like I mentioned before, because we're just charging ahead towards 5G as if there's no health implications at all. I'm here to say that we do need to consider what we're doing in that respect, and balance all of that energy out. So those are the kind of the main reasons. But then I would also add that if you wanted to go mainstream physics, biology, then there are some reports out there. There's actually about 10,000 peer-reviewed studies out there that are linking electromagnetic fields, or we would call them microwave radiation, linking this type of low frequency microwave radiation to diseases that they've observed in rats. And they've observed everything you can imagine. They've observed diabetes, infertility, cancers, endocrine system damage, DNA strand breaks, everything in the body, because it's vibrational, right? It's like whatever there is in the body, if there's a weak point, then the vibration will affect it eventually. So on the biological perspective, I can provide references. You can look up the bioinitiative study. That's a very good source of information for starting to understand just how many studies there are out there that have proven that rats, as in living organisms, do not respond well to these types of electromagnetic fields and microwave radiation. So there you go. That's enough reasons for me.
Right. And in our physics books, it always says that non-ionizing radiation is harmless. So what evidence is there to say it isn't?
Well, you've got all of those, the bioinitiative study that I would, or bioinitiative report that I would highly advise anyone that's interested in learning more to look at that, because that is, hardcore peer-reviewed science that shows that that rats are, we always test everything on rats because they're close in genome to the human body, and I think it's something like 1 rat year equals 16 human years or something like that. So the length of study that you can do on a rat is relatively short, and it gives you a good indication of what's going to happen to humans, right? So what we're saying here is that effectively, when your body is incredibly resilient, right? Everyone's body is amazingly resilient. We are built to resist all sorts of toxins. I always give the example of Keith Richards, right? Who's put a lot of toxins in his body his whole life, and he's still alive somehow because his body is incredibly resilient, right? And to some extent, what we're doing, there's a comparison to be made between smoking, for example, and microwave radiation, only on the basis that, people who smoke don't get ill from smoking. But after 30 years, their lungs are black, right? It's the same kind of thing for microwave radiation. People don't get ill from 1 month of using a phone, but people don't go ill for maybe 10 years. But after year 15, you've been putting up with this vibration for a long, long time, and something is likely to come up. And we're just saying that is something that it's worth looking at and understanding the impact on your body. But just going back to the question, we mentioned.
Oh, I think Tim, you paused. And Fred Chair, I think you paused too.
Yeah, like I was saying, I'm froze over here on this end.
No worries. Am I frozen as well?
I think I can see you moving. Let me see.
Doing a little dance to my chair. I don't know where Tim went. Tim, are you still here with us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, we can hear you. I think your video just.
Oh no, my video's come off. Okay, I'm back on. I had a little camera issue, I think. So anyway, I'm back now.
No worries.
Cassidy, does it look like it's still recording or what?
Yeah, I can't record it from my side, but I do see the recording button beeping at the top left corner of my screen, which is on your screen. So yeah, it is still recording.
Awesome. So
Okay.
yeah, you can go ahead, Tim.
Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, so
You're fine.
Just to finish up on what I was saying, which is that traditionally, everyone had always thought that the only type of radiation that could harm the body or that could cause any kind of biological effects in the body was ionizing radiation, which is on the electromagnetic spectrum. It's things like an X-ray, right? Because an X-ray is a lot of very high intensity radio frequency, which creates a lot of heat. And the amount of heat that it caused, they observed that shook an electron off an atom. This is their observations. But when something was radiating at a very low level, they didn't observe the electron being shaken off the atom. So they basically measured at what heat the electron started getting shaken off the atom, right? And they said, well, if it doesn't create that heat, then it can't be harmful. And these were, standards that they set up, I don't know, maybe the 1920s, 1930s, that sort of thing. These standards have stood forever, and they've served us well, right? But only in the last 20, maybe 30 years max, have we started to put these things in our pockets and next to our brains, right? And when we put a thing that's radiating as strongly as a mobile phone next to our brains, well, that challenges all of those assumptions that have been made before about whether radiation or microwave radiation of a low frequency can or can't do any have any effects on the human body. And they then started testing on this type of radiation on rats. And they said, well, hold on, all the rats are picking up all of these diseases. And don't get me wrong, there are some studies that show that there's no effects on rats, but there are also well over 10,000 that say that there are. So then it was like, well, hold on, if it's not creating that amount of heat, then what is it that's causing this, what we would call dissonance? And this is where we have a need for understanding things from a new physics perspective. And this is where the professor that I work with, has provided some really extraordinary answers, which is that, the spin of electrical current in an atom, it actually looks like an atom, looks like a donut, basically. It's a torus field, right? It's a torus field of spinning light. And that light needs to be in perfect balance in our cells. It's in perfect balance in everything, in my water bottle here. Everything that's an atom is actually alive. It's a spinning ring of electrical current. And it's the quality of that spin and the way that spins, which denotes balance, centeredness, and then therefore health and therefore vitality, right? So if the balance of that electrical current is disrupted, then you have that grounds for, I'm going to call it dis-ease, but basically I mean imbalance, right? Because I have to be careful. I'm not saying disease because I get into trouble from the advertising standards for even mentioning that. But you understand what I'm saying. I'm saying that causes that electrical imbalance in the body, and that's the reason why all these 10,000 studies showed, that low-level microwave radiation was causing these diseases in the rats. So we think we have the missing piece of the jigsaw that everyone needs to really understand this. And I could go on into more depth about the physics side of things, but I just think it's going to lose most of your audience. But ultimately, we're talking about two phases of that light that spins around every atom. It spins in two different phases, and those two phases have to be in balance. And once those two phases are in balance, there's a magnetic 0 point inside the spinning ring of light that keeps it in a perfect donut or toroidal shape, in the shape of a torus. And that's what you want to see in your blood. If you ever have a blood sample and take it out of the body and put it on a plate and then, do the microscopy on it, you will notice a whole load of donuts floating around, because our cells are in the same format as the atom. The atom, the cell, and the particle are all conforming to the same means of spinning current inside. And that's the genius, I like to think, of the inventor that I met in South Africa at his talk, where he's talking about, how everything spins in holographic electrical universe. Everything is alive. The window's alive, you know, everything is alive with spinning electrical current. It's making itself and it's discharging itself in real time.
I was going to say, I don't mean to interrupt you, Tim, but I was watching a video of yours that really intrigued me, and you can explain it in a little bit more in depth, but you took like samples of water and you tested the ORB with water. Could you explain that a little bit more to us and the audience? Because when I was watching that, I found that very fascinating, and I think that you can dig a little bit deeper into the scientifics of that as well.
Sure, yeah, it's a really interesting test, and I have to be careful about calling it a scientific test because lots of people get upset, you know, about this observation. So I'm just going to call it an observation, but it's very important because the body is between 72 and 92% water, right? So I think your blood is like 90% water. So we have a high content of water in our bodies. So the reaction that happens between our bodies, the energy field in our bodies and the energy field in a radiation field is invisible, right? So what Omnia is always trying to do is to make the invisible visible. And one of the ways of doing that is to take 3 bottles of water, right? So imagine there's 3 of these, and then you use one as the baseline, so you don't do anything to that. And then you irradiate the second one, right? So you hold a phone over the water, right next to the water for 5 minutes, and you stream a video, right? And then you send that off to be tested. And then the third one, you put the Omnia Radiation Balancer on, and then you put that on top of the water, and you do the same thing. You watch a video, you make a phone call for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and you send that away to be tested. And the test basically takes a sample of that water, freezes it, and then there's a specific crystalline photography method that was developed by a guy called Dr. Masaru Emoto. And he freezes the water type, then magnifies it many, many times, and he observes the crystalline structure of the water. Now, if there is no structure to the water, it means it's disorganized. It hasn't organized itself into any kind of good vibrational pattern or anything like that. But the perfect structure of water looks like a snowflake when you do this photography. So, and basically that is in line with the geometry of water, you know, H2O. It's like the hexagonal structure will basically show that there's vitality in that water. It basically denotes that you know, everything is as nature intended. So when we did that test, we've just done one recently on a 5G field, which is really fascinating. We found that the water organized itself into perfect crystals, whereas the sample that didn't have the Omnia Radiation Balancer on the phone, when we tested with that sample, it was completely disorganized in structure, chaotic. You know, there was nothing that you could see in any of the crystal photography images that showed that there was any kind of alignment or pattern. So it's just an observational thing, but ultimately, if we can tune the water up so that it's in its perfect structure, then that is, again, good news for the human body, because the human body is mostly water, right? So if we're showing that holding a phone next to water, then testing the water produces perfect crystals, then holding the phone next to the body is actually something that is good for the resonance of the human body, because all of the water content in your body will be organizing itself into its optimal structure and vitality. So those results are all available. The 4G results are available already on our website, and I'm just about to do some new results, publish them this week on the website.
Awesome. And lastly, what do we do with the Omnia Radiation Balancer?
That's a good question. So they look like this. Basically, they come in sort of 6 packs. They're very, very simple. They're just stickers. And inside the sticker is a specific type of energy imprint that then talks to the energy in the phone and then harmonizes it or brings it to balance. And once that happens, then the human body, like I've said earlier, responds extremely well. and you just take one off and you put one on all your radiating devices. I've got 2 on my laptop, funnily enough, because I don't know why, I just have. I've got one on my phone, I've got one on my Wi-Fi router. You put them on your smart meter, you put them on your smart watch. Anything with smart on it is not particularly smart for the human body, let me put it like that. So, you know, you've got a tablet, you need to put it on that. In a car, there's a massive amount of radio frequency microwave radiation that comes out of the car. So put one in the car near to where, you know, all the data comes into the car. You know, you normally got a dashboard there with data that comes into that. Put one on there, and anything else. You can put them in your fridge, you can put them in your microwave, you can put them on your baby monitor. Baby monitors give off a lot of radiation as well. So anything that's man-made and radiating needs to be balanced and centered. So you can just do everything in your house, and then it's one and done.
I have one on my laptop as well, and my phone, and it's just amazing from what I've experienced. I think I've had them on my laptop and my phone for about it's coming close to a month, or maybe a little over a month, and I really do notice a difference. So I also just want to say, like, if your audience members, if you decide to purchase the ORB, you might experience something different that I haven't experienced, and that is the beauty. And that's the beauty of it, is we'll all experience this vibrational peace and harmonization. But for me, it's been less migraines, a little bit less stress. And the really cool thing about it is that somebody else might feel something positive, but it might be different from what I'm experiencing as well.
And the viewers of your show, French Air, can use the code, which is B, to get a 10% discount at the store if they so wish. And I think you've got a link as well that you're going to include in the notes.
That's right.
But yeah, if you just go through the payment process and enter the code BE in capital letters at the end, then you get a 10% discount. And yeah, we just want as many people to bring balance back to their body as possible.
That's right. And I'm so grateful for you, Tim and Cassidy, for being on the show and to share this important information with my audience. I resonated with the information and thought it was very crucial that we get you on here to explain what you've talked about. So I thank you so much.
Thank you so much, French Air. Real pleasure to be on your show. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure.
Awesome. I'm having technical difficulties. My whole screen over here is blacked out. I don't even know how I'll be able to end the room right now. But I thank y'all again for tuning in to another episode of a News You Can Use podcast. Make sure you're following us on Instagram and Facebook at B and Us LLC. You can continue to send your music to us and we'll play it on the podcast to a News You Can Use podcast at gmail.com. All of that information is in the show notes. We appreciate each and every one of you who donates and support the podcast financially. When you donate through Anchor app, you donate $9.99, we receive more of your higher percentage of your donations. You can also send us funds directly through Cash App, $ BNUS LLC, BEANDUS LLC, or paypal.me/FrenchAir. And so we thank you so much again for tuning in to another episode of a News You Can Use podcast. And until next time, we say peace.
Peace and vibrational love and harmonization.
You got it.
Providing stability in uncertain times, division leaders Tamara and Xavier Bannister will protect your employees and their families with the security of life insurance. Being the CEO of a company comes with a plethora of responsibilities such as communication, understanding, and critical thinking. The most important skill of a true leader is to lead from the front. Having the best intentions to secure and educate employees with integrated resources will be the core components needed for innovative thinking. Many corporations will be making groundbreaking achievements during the COVID-19 pandemic. Let's put supporting your employees with a thriving legacy of affordable life insurance on the forefront of your agenda. Build a company on solid ground. Life insurance is essential for future generations to have a legacy of integrity. Contact us at 818-392-9479. Division leaders Tamara and Xavier Bannister. Affordable life insurance for your budget. The Bannisters. Division leaders of Primerica. 818-392-9479. Call today for a quote. The Bannisters, Division Leaders, 818-392-9479.
St. Louis dropping, popping.
Black bodies on the line. Let the creator elevate your mind.
New hits like this.
Like 3, you're out, no mistake. That's the way the pitch break. My old man. Sleeping in his
The Redemption Song by V.
sometimes
Nelson.
grumbling and complaining, but always keeping on. A garden of fragrant flowers. Then you, woman, child,
Last poet, you know it.
flowering garden of my heart. And my heart opened to you.
Pick it up at your local neighborhood stores.
Flowing out.
Hey, this is Andrea Richardson, owner and founder of Womb Care Woman. I'm dedicated to the liberation and the love of Black women, babes, families, and folks. I'm offering full spectrum doula services, whether it's birth, pleasure, sex, death, or loss, along with Reiki healing and activation, and tarot and birth natal readings as well. You can find me on my website, wombcarewoman.com. That's wombcarewoman is spelled WOMXN.com. I can't wait to connect.
And welcome back to the News You Can Use podcast. Did you know that your support keeps this podcast alive, keep episodes getting recorded, new content created, researched? Just gives me the power and the energy to continue to create more news you can use. Time that the hours per episode and per marketing sessions that I spend creating this for you takes away from me participating in any other income driven activities. So your support is needed to sustain future episodes of the News You Can Use podcast, and also for leveling up, because I want to make this better for you. I have a logo getting worked up for you and connecting with other vendors so that we can really just be set up just like when I talk about sponsorship, we can set up just like the radio stations do. The radio stations come and they show up, they set up a whole music DJ, have a DJ to attract business to your to drive clients and customers to your store or your physical location. And that's the whole point of the News You Can Use podcast. And so your support is needed. You can contribute monthly by clicking the support this podcast button on the Anchor app. When you give $9.99 monthly, I get
as the creator, get 13% more per dollar. So I'm really grateful for you, and continue to give and show your support and love. Thank you. Engage. Let's connect. Ujamaa Cooperative Economics.
Check this out. Yo, them beats is poppin'. Check this out. St. Louis' very own hit record release. Love Song. By JCD, rap artist. Yeah, he's fat. Check this out. From MIDT Records, B&B Productions. Pick it up at your local neighborhood store.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of a News You Can Use podcast, where we promote melanated business owners across the diaspora, promoting positivity across the diaspora whilst changing our narrative, giving Black business owners and African business owners a platform to talk their shit. Subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts. Review the podcast and rate the podcast on Apple Podcasts. It helps us a lot because it helps more people discover us, and it helps us to get more sponsors to continue to produce more episodes and elevate the podcast. Follow us on Spotify. That way, when you follow and subscribe, you'll be notified of the next episode when it's released. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at BE and Us LLC. B and Us LLC. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Comment on the posts, your feedback, comments, or questions in regards to any of the episodes you've listened to. Leave us a voice message on the Anchor app. It's a free app you can download, and you can leave us a voice message, which I may play on the next episode. You can give us any suggestions, any suggested guests, feedback. I just want to hear from you. So leave us a message on Anchor app. Super excited about all of the new products and lines that I've designed through B&Us LLC. So I've been painting and putting the paintings on merchandise. So you can purchase the original art. You can purchase shower curtain sets, prints, framed prints, stickers, t-shirts, hoodies, fanny packs, all that you can purchase in either the B&Us LLC threadless artist shop or the Teespring store. You can just click B&Us LLC in the show notes, and that will take you to the link tree that will display all of the links where you can purchase items by B&Us LLC and by Roblin's Customs, by the Buy Black campaign. We're still selling the 100th year commemoration of Black Wall Streets, Tulsa's Black Wall Street, and the Tulsa Massacre, where we got red, black, and green hoodies commemorating that event in life. I have great news. I have dropped a new album. So what? Wicked. I dropped a new album. I made some tracks and with my iPhone, and they are available for purchase on Apple Music and Amazon Music, and you can stream it on Spotify. Follow my artist page on Spotify. And the album's called Supernova Universe. So it's all instrumental tracks, dope beats, dope fresh beats. I believe that you'll enjoy them. And share on your social media. Tag me. You know, when you've purchased a song or the album, it's only $7 for the album, and or 99 cents for each track. So I'd love to hear your feedback on the album as well on Instagram or Facebook, the BNS LLC pages. Tap in with us in regards to the Omnia Radiation Balancer, where it harmonizes the radiation and energies flowing from your electronic devices. It balances the energy to your body. Awesome product. If you use code B, capital B, you get 10% off. There's more information in the show notes. Musicians, send us your music to anewsyoucanusepodcast@gmail.com. That's anewsyoucanusepodcast@gmail.com. Thank you.
Free your mind while it's time. What's up with that? I got one thing on my mind. What's up with that? Revolution. Yo, that's Pharaoh Jerome. Please make me die 1,000 deaths in a day, and then I won't jump in the front while you put it down for the good time. Put it down for the good time. Assalamu alaikum. Peace. Shalom, shalom. Hotel. Yeah, MIDT Records. B&B Productions. Rhythmic Sound. Love to rap. Yo, check it out. And all your local neighborhood stores.